Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
It's our news digest for the month of March. Welcome to our show, and today it's our all-English lecture, so we're going to avoid speaking languages other than English. Although we are talking about something that's happening here in Taiwan.
Yeah.
So, a Chinese word might sneak in here and there. Well, the word Taiwan itself is a Chinese word, so I've already shot myself in the foot there. But in any case here, yes, we're talking about food delivery drivers, okay? This is a new phenomenon. This seems to have started within the last year or so.
No. It's before that. Food Panda's been around for a while.
Okay, it just seems to me that they've been more noticeable in the last year to me.
Now there are more of them. Food Panda became so busy that I stopped even trying to order. It would get really frustrating. I would place an order online, and then an hour later, when I thought the food should have been delivered, they would call or text me and say, "Oh, we're sorry, the restaurant just canceled your order." So it was a little frustrating. I am very glad we have more delivery services. Because I came from New York City, I was used to having everything delivered to my apartment. So I'm happy with this kind of service here in Taiwan.
Well, I have my reservations about it.
Okay.
And, of course, people in Taiwan have their reservations about it. But we're going to talk about something that has to do with insurance.
Oh.
I'm sure a lot of these riders or these delivery riders, drivers, I guess, are concerned about being compensated on the job if something happens to them.
Oh, sure.
So, of course, this has been in the news recently about whether they're actually employees of the companies or if they're contractors.
Or it's a gig economy, we call it sometimes.
Indeed. So let's find out what this is all about. Let's read through the entire contents of our lesson, and we'll come right back to talk about it. Taiwan's Ministry of Labor, MOL, has drafted new laws applying to online food delivery companies after 2 delivery drivers were killed in accidents during 2019's National Day holidays. The deaths of the drivers revealed that they, along with thousands of other couriers, were not entitled to any labor insurance benefits. This was because the companies they worked for, Food Panda and Uber Eats, had listed the drivers as contractors rather than company employees. While online food delivery platforms like these have exploded in popularity recently, the drivers who make this service possible face dangerous traffic conditions each day they're on the job. Despite the risky nature of their work, some of the companies that hire them avoid providing insurance by claiming they contracted drivers from other companies rather than recruiting their own employees. However, an inspection found that of the more than 45,000 people doing delivery work in Taiwan, only around 1,300 are actually contractors, with the rest being directly employed. The MOL imposed fines on several of these companies for violating labor laws by failing to offer insurance benefits to drivers, as well as not keeping worker attendance or record cards. In response to the deaths of the 2 drivers and reports of injuries from others, the MOL wrote up new requirements to safeguard both contractors and employees of the companies. The law dictates that delivery companies provide a minimum of 2 million NT dollars in accident insurance to their drivers in the case of disability or death. The drivers also cannot be required to work on typhoon holidays. Any companies that fail to abide by these regulations will be fined 100,000 NT dollars. Delivery drivers should now find themselves with better protections against the perils of their job.
Okay, guys, let's get started. Keeping food delivery drivers safer on the job. I was just saying to Tom during the little break there that we also have a lot of delivery drivers who deliver packages from companies like PC Home or Momo or wherever you're ordering from. They seem to be quite busy here with deliveries. Everything is pretty fast here. But yeah, I've worried about the young people. Actually, not all of these scooter drivers are young people. I had an older guy the other day show up. But yeah, I worry about them because of all the traffic that they have to deal with now. It can be very dangerous.
Well, this article is kind of interesting because at first I did not have any sympathy for these delivery riders because they seem to ride really fast, and I understand that they get paid per delivery. So if they want to make more money, it makes more sense for them to drive faster. And to me, they're a menace on the road. At least that's what I thought before.
If you're a menace, you're a danger to somebody or something.
That's my opinion, though.
Yeah.
But we kind of are talking in terms of them being more victims than perpetrators of violence. But in any case, we're keeping food deliveries or delivery drivers safer on the job. It's interesting. I'd also want to note that usually if you are riding a bicycle or a motorcycle, you are a rider. But we're using the word driver here because I guess that can also apply to scooters and more because they're actually engaged in a job here. They're delivering food for a salary.
I typically just casually would say, yeah, he's a delivery guy. You know, he rides his scooters or maybe a truck. Some of them have real cars or trucks, and they can deliver that way. I do think one of the ways they try to increase their income, increase their pay per hour is what they'll do is they'll have 2 or 3 jobs that they'll pick up at the same time. I've seen that happen with me. I'll see my driver because you can check online to see where they are. I know when the restaurant has the food ready. They tell me when the driver picked it up. Then he'll stay in a neighborhood for a while, or I'll see him go to another place. And by the time my food gets delivered, sometimes it's cold. So that's frustrating. But I understand that they want to make some extra money. But if you're delivering to me, I give good tips, so you should bring it straight to my door.
Oh, you've started a precedent there. Tips.
I know, I'm used to it.
Now they're going to start expecting that. But that won't really involve me so much because I haven't really relied on their services yet. I might in the future.
You've never ordered online to have the food delivered?
No, we always go out or we cook at home. But in any case, of course, if you have any problems with work or labor, then this is handled through the Ministry of Labor. So Taiwan's Ministry of Labor, or MOL for short, has drafted new laws applying to online food delivery companies after 2 delivery drivers were killed in accidents during 2019's National Day holidays, which occurred, of course, last year. And there probably have been other accidents and maybe even deaths since that time.
It's terrible.
But we got the word draft here as a verb. That means they've written them up and they've sent them to the floor for debate. And I guess it also implies that they've been passed.
Yeah, if you write something, it can be referred to as a draft. That's the noun form of the word. But here we're using it in the verb form. Yeah, I drafted up a letter for my boss to sign. So that just means you wrote something. It might not be the final version. It could be a version that somebody else says, yeah, I want to change this line and this word. So we'll often draft up things for our bosses. Here in the executive yuan, at least, sometimes they'll use this just to talk about writing new laws. They draft new laws. And then once they're written, there's debate, and people can give their opinions and decide whether they want to pass the law or enact the law, which means we all have to start obeying at that point because it's a law, and we must follow or obey the laws. It's really sad here to see that these delivery drivers aren't always safe on the road. Frankly, those scooters out there are pretty scary to me. They dodge in and out of traffic. They're always in the middle lanes. They're not supposed to be there. And I've hit a couple trying to get out of a car. The car will pull over to the curb, the sidewalk area, and I, start to open my door and there's a little scooter there trying to get through a tiny crack. So, guys, be careful.
Yeah, scooters try to do everything on the road. They're trying to steal an inch here or there all the time. I was going to ask you, are you referring to scooters in general?
Yeah.
Or just these delivery riders?
All the scooters, yeah.
Everything, okay. Yeah, they're notorious for that kind of behavior. But in any case, we do have two drivers who were killed in accidents during the National Day holidays last year, and then the deaths of the drivers revealed or showed that they, along with thousands of other couriers, were not entitled to any labor insurance benefits.
Wow.
So because they died, supposedly their families should be entitled to some money because, insurance and stuff like that, but they said, nope, you're not going to get any money because these guys were not insured. So that problem there revealed that there is something wrong with the law here. And of course, if you're a delivery rider, you could also be referred to as a courier. Like in New York and I guess in Chicago too, there are bicycle couriers.
Yep.
That ride all over the place. There aren't here in Taiwan because everybody rides scooters here. They're faster and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's what a courier is, somebody who delivers things, usually in a city.
Yeah, if you've seen any of the movies that are filmed in New York City, you'll often see these couriers on bikes. They are really fast, but again, it's really dangerous to even be a bike courier in New York City. So if you're not entitled to something, it means you don't deserve it. You haven't earned it. Why do you think you should get it? So entitled, it's a legal right to be able to claim something or to receive something, get something. Most employees who are employed by bigger companies, they're entitled to death compensation. So if you're killed or say you're injured on the job, that's disability. You can claim money from your company saying, listen, it happened while I was on the job. That phrase on the job just means you were working at the time it happened. If you're hurt or killed after work hours, the company isn't responsible for that. You aren't entitled to get any money from them unless you're on a business trip. And if you are, then of course you're still on the job.
Right, so these accidents revealed or showed us that these riders and lots of other couriers are not entitled to those labor insurance benefits. They can't get them. And this was because the companies they worked for, Food Panda and Uber Eats, had listed the drivers as contractors rather than company employees. So there are different ways to work for different companies. You could actually be employed by a company and you get a contract that you sign and then you get all these benefits, right? But if you're a contractor, that means you're kind of working freelance and you're not entitled to the benefits that regular employees are.
Yeah, I've done a lot of contract work in New York City in particular. My last job, when I worked for a management consulting firm, they offered me a permanent position, and I said, no, I'm a singer. I don't want to sign a real contract. So I was under a different kind of contract. I was just a contractor. I could decide what hours I work and when I wanted to come in. So these drivers, as contractors, have more freedom, but there's always a give and take with these situations. If you're a freelancer, yeah, you got a lot of extra time, but you don't get paid for vacation. If you take vacation, it's something you have to pay for yourself, and you don't have medical help or insurance that way. So yeah, there are pros and cons to being a contractor rather than company employee. They both have their upside and their downside. We're going to take a quick break here, guys, and listen to maybe some nice music. We certainly don't have a Chinese teacher for you, but we'll be right back.
All right, let's continue with our lesson. Again, we're talking about online delivery companies in Taiwan here. We're also calling them platforms here since it involves going online and using an app or something on your phone. So while online food delivery platforms like these have exploded in popularity recently, the drivers who make this service possible face dangerous traffic conditions each day they're on the job. And I might add, they also cause lots of dangerous traffic conditions, too. I got to say that because I believe it's true.
See, you ride a bike outside, so I've never really noticed that they cause problems. I just see them when they come to my building. But you have to actually deal with them on the road.
Yeah, they ride ridiculously fast, and there just aren't enough police out there to stop them.
They never stop those
They
guys.
don't stop motorcycles. They're
No.
powerless to do so. But in any case, it does say that they have exploded in popularity. They become very popular recently. But, of course, the drivers are in danger. They face dangerous traffic conditions each day that they're on the job. And despite the risky nature of their work, some of the companies that hire them avoid providing insurance by claiming they contracted drivers from other companies rather than recruiting their own employees. So, okay, even though this job is risky, some of those companies who hire the riders or the drivers avoid providing insurance. They won't provide that insurance because they say that they contracted the drivers from other companies. Therefore, we don't have to provide insurance for them. And they did not recruit their own employees. And here we've got the word recruiting, which is from the verb to recruit, which means you find people to work for your company. You go look for them, and then you interview them, and you hire them. The military recruits people all the time. It's just basically finding people to work for you.
Yeah, we had someone in my last company in New York where her full-time job was just checking out college graduates, their resumes. You know, she would interview them. They'd go through a couple of rounds with her, and then the partners in the firm would then do the last round of interviews, and that was the recruiting of my company. Some companies spend a lot of money trying to find good employees. Well, it says here, however, an inspection found that of the more than 45,000 people doing delivery work in Taiwan, only around 1,300 are actually contractors, with the rest being directly employed, which just means if you're directly employed, you're an employee of that company. If you do an inspection, it's usually someone who is assigned to look into the details of something. For example, we have car inspections in America where you take your car into a particular place and they look at the exhaust. They see if your brakes are working well enough, da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, you have to pass the inspection and then you can go ahead and drive the car. If you don't get it inspected every year, you'll be pulled over by the police and given a ticket. So we also know people who work in the food industry. For example, especially the meat industry, they'll have government inspectors who will check and see if the chickens are healthy or the cows are healthy, and if the meat is, good, or if it's going to hurt someone and poison someone.
Yeah, when I took my new scooter in, I bought a used scooter from a friend. I had to take it into the Department of Motor Vehicles for an inspection. It did not pass the inspection because one of the tires was kind of bald. So I had to go replace the tire there and come back about a half hour later.
Kind of explain what bald means, a bald tire.
Well, basically, if you don't have hair on your head, you're bald.
Right.
So imagine the tire looking like someone without hair. The tire is
Used
bald.
it too much.
It's smooth. There is no tread on the tire, etc.
Right.
So you'll probably have to take your scooter in for another inspection if that's the case for you. But, the government conducted an inspection of these companies, and they found that lots of people were doing this work, but not very many of them were actually contractors. The rest were actually employed. So I guess these companies cannot say they're contractors, at least according to this inspection. Now, the MOL imposed fines on several of these companies for violating labor laws by failing to offer insurance benefits to drivers, as well as not keeping worker attendance or record cards. So they imposed those fines. Basically, they gave those fines to those companies. They said, you've got to pay this fine. You've done something illegal. You've broken the law. So you've got to pay this fine. So they were imposed on these companies for violating those labor laws. And what they did was they failed to offer insurance benefits to the drivers. And also they did not keep worker attendance records or record cards. So attendance just refers to whether you show up to school or to work.
Right. You'll often see time clocks in different companies where the employees will take a card and then put it into the time clock and it stamps the hour that they got there and the hour they leave.
You punch in?
Yeah, punch in and punch out. I don't think I've ever had a... Oh, no, I did have one job where we had a time clock and time cards. That was when I was 16 and I worked for a department store, which was really fun because I got discounts on clothes. And, at that age, everybody wants lots of clothes. But anyway, yeah, they imposed fines. They'd have to pay some money because they were disobeying the law. It sounds like they actually lied about it, too. So they violated, that's a nicer word, violated labor laws because they weren't doing what they should have, providing insurance and also keeping worker attendance or record cards. If you're a contractor or a freelancer, typically you aren't clocking in. You aren't punching in and punching out. So in response to the deaths of these two drivers, which is so sad and so horrible, and also that doesn't even include all of the injuries that some of these drivers experience, the MOL wrote up new requirements to safeguard both contractors and employees of the company. So now they're trying to make sure the drivers, whether they're contractors or they're actually employees of a company, direct employees of a company, they'll be kept safe. To safeguard just means to keep something or someone safe. Sometimes if you want to safeguard very important documents, you'll get something called a safe deposit box you could get it at a post office. Typically, they're in banks. And you can put your very valuable papers there in case, maybe you're robbed or your house burns down. You'll still have those papers.
Right. Safeguard just means to protect, basically. So, yes, the new requirements will safeguard both the contractors and the employees of the companies. Hopefully, everybody will be insured now. And the law dictates that delivery companies provide a minimum of 2 million NT dollars in accident insurance to their drivers in the case of disability or death. Okay, we don't want to have death there, nor do we want to have injuries or accidents or things like that. Now, here we've got the word dictate. Dictate, okay? I think of, what's his name? Kim Jong-un in North Korea. He's a dictator, which is where that word comes from. To dictate here just means you kind of tell other people what to do. So this is what the law is telling us what to do, or at least it's telling these delivery companies what to do. It dictates, it orders them, it tells them that they need to provide a minimum of 2 million NT dollars in accident insurance to their drivers.
That's a minimum. That's the lowest amount that they should have. Of course, a lot of those companies are going to need more money. In the case of disability, disability is a situation where someone's body has been hurt and they're no longer at full strength. They probably, had an injury on a limb, like an arm or a leg. Maybe they were blinded while they were working on the job. So if you have a disability, usually you can apply to the government or your company that you were working for when you were injured, and they pay you some amount, usually per month. Sadly, some of these workers actually are killed on the job.
It does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
So, again, that's what the new law is telling us. It dictates that, hey, these companies need to provide at least 2 million NT dollars in accident insurance in case of disability or death. But in any case here, yes, if you have an accident and you can't work for a while, that would be considered a disability. Hopefully it's temporary. It might be permanent, you might have a leg amputated or something like that, or might become paralyzed. I'm not joking there. These things can happen. Riding a scooter is one of the most dangerous things you can do in terms of transportation. Now, the drivers also cannot be required to work on typhoon holidays.
Good.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of people are stuck at home during typhoons, and they might think, gee, I'd like to have some, I can't say Chinese here.
No,
I'd like to have
you almost said noodles. I saw
Well,
it.
I was going to say beef noodles there, but gee, boy, a nice bowl of steaming hot beef noodles would taste really good.
Yeah.
Let me get on my phone here. Let me tap on the delivery app on my phone here and order some noodles. Sorry, can't do it. It's a typhoon day. We're not supposed to ride outside on these days, otherwise our company might get in big trouble. Gee, what am I going to do? I guess I'm going to have instant noodles.
You may need instant noodles. If you really want food that badly, you can always go outside and find a convenience store. Those poor employees still work. I'm always talking to the kids and the people. They're not just young folks that work at the convenience stores. And I ask them, I say, is your house really close? Because, the typhoon is dangerous to be riding in. Of course, they're going to take scooters. And they say, oh, yeah, I'm just going to stay here. When it gets bad, I'll just, stick around for a while. But unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are required to work on typhoon holidays. They shouldn't be delivery drivers, though, guys. You can wait another day to get whatever you crave, or you can just walk outside and, endanger yourself and go get some instant noodles. I often go walking on typhoon holidays. Is that bad?
Well, I kind of avoid it, because things go flying around,
Sometimes, yeah.
After typhoons, of course, the alley next to our house is always filled with branches and stuff like that. So, yes, indeed, it is very dangerous to walk outside during a typhoon. Avoid it if you can. But again, the delivery drivers, are not required to work on typhoon holidays. And any companies that fail to abide by these regulations will be fined 100,000 NT dollars. Ooh, that's a very large amount of money there. So we've got the phrase here to abide by, which means basically you follow those regulations, you obey those regulations, you do what they tell you to do.
You accept these regulations, you don't question them, you don't oppose them, you do what you're supposed to do. I was just going to say another Chinese word.
Uh-oh, it's kind of hard, isn't it?
It's hard. We're so used to mixing English and Chinese words, both of us actually. So these companies are going to have to be abiding by the regulations, or they're going to be forking over a lot of money. To fork over cash is just to pay cash. It's slang. So delivery drivers should now find themselves with better protections against the perils of their job. When you talk about the perils of something, it just means the dangers of that job. Any special dangers or difficulties? The perils of the situation, the perils of their job, the perils of a teenager. You'll often see perils followed by of, and then whatever noun you're talking about.
There's also the phrase to be in peril.
Sure.
The ship has just hit an iceberg, and now the ship is in peril. It's going to sink.
Don't put an S on that, guys. In peril, just with the, singular. Again, I was going to say Chinese.
Yes,
and also,
tricky,
there's another word, perilous, which is the adjective form of this word. Oh, yeah. Our trip was very perilous.
It can be very perilous to ride your scooter during a typhoon, we could say, for example. Okay, so hopefully everybody will be protected and will be able to get some nice piping hot food delivered to us quickly and without anybody getting hurt or killed. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and please join us again next time for another edition of our program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.